Today on the Dad the Best I Can show.
And at that level of self-dominance that they have, that comes with the responsibility, in my opinion. If you have that much power that you control the center aisle of pretty much every grocery store, it comes with the responsibility. And they get an F in that responsibility. And they sugarcoat it with bullshit donations.
Hey now. Welcome to the Dad the Best I Can show. My name is Rob Roseman, who wants to be a millionaire legend, Chicago futures trader, Vegas poker pro. Now I'm a dad to 3 kids, ages 6, 4, and 1. Phew! Wears me out just thinking about it. Each week we're bringing on dads like you to tell us your stories, your tips and tricks to help all of us make it through dad life. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now let's get on with the show. What's up, everybody? We are back for part 2 with our guest, Jesse Itzler. Jesse is 50 years old. He grew up in Roslyn, New York, and now lives in Atlanta with his wife, Sara Blakely, and their 4 kids, Lazer, 9, Lincoln, 5, Charlie, 5, and Tepper, 3. That's right, 50 years old, 4 kids under 10. And you guys think you're tired? Today on the Dad the Best I Can show, we're going to talk about how Jesse and his wife Sara's parenting style is always a work in progress, how Jesse and Sara redefine failure to their kids as effort versus results, why reading with their kids is such an important part of their day. We talk about how they try not to overschedule activities for their kids and the importance of giving your kids downtime. And we talk about why Jesse is taking on the cereal industry. He's creating a documentary called Cereal Killers, how cereal companies are using deception to market their products to parents and kids, how a lot of the foods that we ate as kids, even gum like Juicy Fruit and Big League Chew, are much different today. Jesse is using his voice to raise awareness to parents everywhere and show us how there are better options out there to feed our kids. You're going to feel how passionate Jesse is about this issue, and let me tell you, after listening, you will pay more attention to what kind of foods you're buying for your kids. Be sure to check out part 1 with Jesse. That's episode 14. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy. Here's more with Jesse Itzler. And, we parent differently than, we grew up differently than our wives. How do you and Sara get on the same page? You're both very career driven, but I'm sure you came into parenting a little bit different. How have you learned to kind of coordinate that and not undermine each other and get on the same page with all that?
I think we still learn. I wouldn't say that we have it all figured out at all. I think we address things in private when we disagree, or we have different parenting philosophies, and we have different thoughts around certain topics, and we work through them, but it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, one thing I loved, I heard Sara tell a story about her dad growing up would sit them all at the dinner table and ask them, what did they fail at this week? And I thought that was really cool because he was actually like almost encouraging them to talk about it and kind of showing that failure is a part of life and laughing about it. Is that the kind of thing that you guys do with your kids?
We do it with each other too. Yeah, we do. I mean, we kind of try to hopefully redefine failure as effort versus result.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it is kind of goes against what, not necessarily we were taught, but a lot of societies, like, did you win? Did you lose? And really it is just get out there, take chances, and laugh it off. Whatever happens, you're going to learn from it.
Right. And we still emphasize winning versus losing, but I mean, we really try to emphasize the importance of trying versus not trying at all because you're scared. Like, I don't want to go out for the team because I might get cut. Who cares? Like, you're definitely going to get cut if you don't go after the team.
Yeah, we went roller skate. My 6-year-old had a roller skating party for the first time, which I think I might have been more excited than he was to go to Hot Wheels in Georgia, but he was apprehensive and he didn't want to get out there. And I was like, look, you get out there, you're going to fall. It's going to be fun. And he was nervous at first. And within 20 minutes, he was like rolling around on the floor. It's being able to stand up was really cool to see just in like 20 minutes, how quickly they can, the kids are amazing. I wish we had some of their fearlessness.
Absolutely. Well, you do. You just got to pull it out of you.
You and Sara, I know, talk about how important reading is to your kids. That's something we try to do every night. It's, not always easy to slip it in, but important. And when my son turned 5, we started, and he was learning how to read. My sister and I started Kickstart Reading, where we help parents teach their kids to read. Why is reading so important in your house?
I mean, it's good quiet time. I mean, despite obviously there's a ton of research around how important it is from a learning perspective, creativity, but it's also quiet. It's one-on-one. It's a different pace. It's a good ritual. And, but I think all that aside, I think we probably do it for the benefit of just helping them become better readers, opening them up to more things. But it's hard to do it. We say we want to do it every night. That's a hard thing to keep.
Let's take a quick break for our dad tip of the week, brought to you by Kickstart Reading. Do you have kids between the ages of 3 and 6? I've got 2 boys, and when my older son was going into kindergarten, my wife and I quickly learned that we had no idea how to teach him how to read. We found Kickstart Reading and watched one 2-minute video together, and you could see his confidence take off. Bonus, I felt like Dad of the Year. Here's another dad talking about how Kickstart Reading is helping his boys learn how to read.
Hey there, this is Chris Heller, and I'm a big fan of Kickstart Reading. Each morning before school, I show a video to my 4.5-year-old son, and now his little 2-year-old brother is getting in on the action as well. I'm a big fan of the videos, highly consumable and engaging for young boys. Definite recommend for all parents out there who are looking to get their kids off to the right start with reading. Kickstart Reading.
Go to kickstartreading.com and use the code DAD to get 65% off right now. That's D-A-D, DAD. See? It works. kickstartreading.com. Now back to the show. On the Dad the Best I Can show, we like to do one dad tip of the week for other dads out there. Do you have one that you could tell other dads?
We really try not to overschedule our kids. I think there's a lot, I see a lot of that these days, and I'll go here and then to soccer and then to karate and then to this, and that's exciting and fun, but it could be a little overwhelming, I think. I remember when I was growing up, my parents, like my mom worked with the Board of Education in my hometown, and every week, Wednesday, or she would have a meeting, and I would go, and she would sit, because my mom raised 4 kids, no help. And she would give me a box of crayons and a piece of paper, and she'd be like, "When we're done, we're leaving." And there wasn't like I couldn't interrupt them. I had to sit there with my crayons and create my own world for 2 hours. And I had a lot of downtime as a kid. As much as I went outside and played, I also had a lot of downtime. I think that's really important in today's world. It's easy to get caught up in, I want to sign up for baseball and soccer and karate, and then I want to go over here and here and here. But allowing the kids to have downtime, I think, is an important thing too.
Yeah, it is. We are way overscheduled here, which I'm glad, but at the same time, yeah, it's just 2 hours, go do nothing, or even go be bored. That's like a skill that's kind of lost in today's world, like we were as kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick to end it up, I know you talk a lot about having a mission and kind of a purpose to your life. I know a lot of what you're talking about on Instagram and everything is kids' health and nutrition, and in particular going after the cereal industry. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that's important to you?
Yeah, I mean, cereal is such a dominant meal in our kids' lives, even in adult lives. I think 50% of Americans start their day with cereal, and the average American eats like 14 pounds of cereal a year. And I just am offended by the way that a lot of these cereal companies market their products. There's a lot of deception in their advertising and in their messaging around nutrition and health and well-being, and they downplay the ingredients and the dyes and the coloring, and I just think that that's wrong. And these companies dominate shelf space, and they market and target kids. And they market and target kids that have a lot more sugar than the cereal that they market to adults. And we are seeing as a nation the result of it. We only have 21 meals a week, right? I think the average American eats about 1,100 meals a year. And if you're having 5 bowls of cereal, like one a day before school or whatever, you're having a couple bowls of cereal every day, or one a day for a couple of days a week. It's simple math. That's 25% of your meals. And that's a problem, man. And you're seeing obesity, ADHD, childhood cancer rates up. And I'm not saying necessarily that Fruity Pebbles are the cause of it. But I think we got to take a closer look at it. And I think those companies have a much bigger responsibility how they market that stuff than they're living up to.
So like what are you trying to achieve? Like I know you're going after the companies, but as parents, as dads, we can, if we're buying that kind of cereal, maybe it's, pick something a little healthier. We don't have to go fully organic or vegan or anything with our kids. We still want them to have fun, but you're saying just maybe look at the ingredients and choose a little wiser.
I think that the companies, I think two things. I think one, just bringing awareness. I think a lot of people, Kellogg's uses the word nutrition or nutritious, either one, over 4,000 times on their website. And that's very manipulative because nothing in their product line of processed foods is nutritious. And I think that people assume, just like I assume, my parents assume, if things are on the shelf on a store, that very likely, especially at Whole Foods or that they're not bad for you. And that's not really the case. And I like to bring a little bit of awareness to that so people have a better understanding of really what they're eating. And wow, you're telling me that some of these ingredients are banned in other countries because they're deemed unsafe, yet they're sold here, or it's okay for Kellogg's to change their ingredients that they sell, some of their products in other countries because the other countries have stricter standards than it is here. I think there's a big awareness campaign to be had, and I think so that's part one. And I think there are a lot of alternatives to some of the food products and how you start your morning than just necessarily putting sugar, corn syrup, red dye, yellow, yellow 6, red 40, blue, all this stuff into your 4 or 5-year-old kid's body. So that's my goal.
Yeah. So what are your kids eating for breakfast when you're rushing them off to school and everything?
They usually start their day I try to have them start their day every day with something that's alive, whether it's fresh squeezed juice, whether it's fruit, whether it's a smoothie, as the first thing that goes into their body. I think that's something I've been able to kind of maintain. And then they have eggs. They do have cereal. But they're not eating sugar smacks. They have cereal. They have eggs. They have an American diet. But I try to start it with a balance of fresh fruits, and I try to make sure that we don't bring into the house some of the bigger offenders in that category. They're a good option.
I asked you actually because that is part of it. It's like, my wife and I talk. We're like, well, they're still kids. We chewed gum when we were kids. And you were like, I think you did something on juicy fruit. And you're like, yeah, that gum that you chewed 20 years ago is not even the same as what they're putting out there now. So, which was kind of eye-opening. You don't even know what they're doing behind the scenes. So we still want them to be kids.
Right. Well, so is the Raisin Bran. The Raisin Bran you ate as a kid isn't the Raisin Bran that you're eating now. A lot of the foods that you ate as a kid aren't the same foods that you're eating now. I mean, my favorite gum was Big League Chew.
Oh, the best.
But Big League Chew, when I had Big League Chew, it didn't have aspartame in it. It didn't have sweeteners that were 200 times sweeter than sugar that cost less, but caused havoc on your body. It had sugar. Okay. Sugar, but now it has aspartame and it has all these different preservatives, and it can last forever. And, it's just, that's not what we were eating when we were eating Bazooka. So my Big League Chew is not the same thing. And they didn't tell us. They just switched the product. They just switched the formula, but they kept the packaging. Juicy Fruit switched the formula in 2003. They added other sweeteners to make it, less expensive for them to produce and make it sweeter. And they didn't tell us. They kept the same exact packaging. That, to me, is incredibly deceptive. And I'm not comfortable with that. And if I have a voice, listen, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I've never worked for anybody in my whole life. I've never had a resume. I've just always been on my own path and journey. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But being an entrepreneur means, being bold and trying to be disruptive and trying to make change and trying to innovate and do something that no one's ever done. And at 50 years old, if I found something that I want to fight for, and I'm using my entrepreneurial spirit just as a capitalist, but not as someone that wants to bring change, that to me would lead to a lot of regret. So I'm an entrepreneur, man. I'm doing a documentary called Serial Killers, and cereal being cereal like the food. And I want to use some of those strengths that I've had, as an entrepreneur over the years to bring this awareness campaign, provide some options and solutions to the forefront.
Oh, it's awesome. It's really admirable, and it's really helpful because, it's like you need somebody that you can relate to telling you that it's not just, oh, don't eat gum. It's go, try this Glee Gum or something that's actually doesn't have aspartame. I didn't even know aspartame was bad, to be honest, until like you hear people talking about, why it's not that sugar is bad. You're okay with kids having sugar. It's just like, okay, have the real sugar then, right? Those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, I think sugar has issues with sugar. Big sugar companies are causing havoc in the ocean. They're causing red tide in Florida. There's fish by the hundreds of thousands being killed because big sugar companies are being irresponsible. But that aside, so I do have my issues, but look, there's people, I posted this, and there's a couple of people sending studies about aspartame, and it's not, I don't believe studies. You can get a study that says smoking is good for you. You can get a survey that says smoking is bad for you. If you pay enough money, you can get whatever you want. Any result. You can get Flintstones vitamin says that it's the number one recommended doctor by pediatricians in this country. Who in the world paid for that? What doctor in their right mind would recommend a vitamin that's loaded in sugar, aspartame, and dyes that are banned in 5 countries? Nobody. Yet they claim from their studies. So you could get it. So people are coming at like, oh, aspartame. My feeling, is that aspartame creates a tremendous amount of havoc in the human body. So as it relates to sugar, going back to what your statement, I think, yeah, I mean, look, the sugar in everything, sugar, but I think I'm not a nutritionist, whether it's a better alternative than some of the other stuff out there, but these new sweeteners that they're doing, that they're making in a lab, that's not even food. Come on, man. I mean, my common sense meter starts to ring when a company's like, we can make a sugar that's artificial, that's 200 times sweeter than sugar and way cheaper to make. Let's use that. My 2 cents are that these companies really don't care about the welfare of who's eating them. They're just completely profit driven.
Well, and it's amazing. It's awesome that you're using your platform to pick something, and having kids will do that to you also, because now you're not just if you want to mess up your life, but once you start doing it to your kids, it's a whole different ballgame. So.
And here's another thing. I wanted to, in closing, I just want to say one thing, because now you got me thinking. These companies don't have to do that. Like, Kellogg's doesn't have to use all these dyes that are not food. They're dyes. They don't have to use red dye 40 or yellow 6 or the blue dyes that are found in blue jeans. They don't have to do it. It just makes their product look better. But they don't have to do it. They could use other coloring sources, natural colorings, etc. They could use use vegetable juice or whatever to change the color of the cereal, to give it a red color or a blue color. But they don't. They use something that's not food. Food dye it's not food, period. And they give them to little kids because it makes it look amazing on their packaging, and it grabs you by your eyes. And you're like, it's super appealing to the eye, and it's colorful and fun, and kids love it. They're targeting the kids. They're like, oh, wow. But they don't have to do it. So my point is, they can do a lot better. They could be a lot more responsible, but they don't want to do it. They don't care. They want to sell their product. The CEO of Kellogg's, the CEO of General Mills, the CEO of Post, the CEO of Quaker Oats, they get paid if their stock goes up. They don't get paid if your kid is healthier. The relationship between your kid's health and their stock, it's irrelevant. They work for one reason, to drive their stock price up, period. Because if it doesn't, they get fired. And that does not correlate to I'm going to make your kid healthier. And at that level of self-dominance that they have, that comes with the responsibility, in my opinion. If you have that much power that you control the center aisle of pretty much every grocery store, it comes with the responsibility. And they get an F in that responsibility. And they sugarcoat it with bullshit donations.
Oh, it's awesome. It is really empowering to hear because, most of us don't know any of this stuff. So it takes your voice to make us aware and, look at the box. And right now if I see red dye or yellow dye, I didn't know that was bad. So
ask the lab rats how they feel about it.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you putting this message out there to other parents and giving us good advice. And thank you for taking the time out. Where can people learn more about you and what you're doing?
Oh, I guess probably just I'm on Instagram at my name, at Jesse Itzler, and my website, jesseitzler.com. I appreciate you having me.
Jesse, I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time out.
Okay. I'll see you around Atlanta, man. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to the Dad the Best I Can show. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Actually, 5 stars. We could do better than that. Brooks? Infinity stars. Cameron? How many stars?
Infinity 1,000.
Infinity 1,000. You got to one-up them in this household. Thanks. See ya.